into the room, but I'm going to have her record. Thank you, Cheryl. And we're going to get started. So good morning. If this is your first time joining a Government Affairs Committee meeting for the Cocoa Beach Regional Chamber of Commerce, my name is Jennifer Sugarman. I'm the president and CEO. I have with me my blonde stunt double, Ashley Wood, who is our Government Affairs Committee chair for the second year in a row. So I'm going to let her do a welcome and talk a little bit about session, which is now in full swing in Tallahassee, albeit it looks a little bit different than last year. And then we'll move into our presentation. So good morning, thanks for joining us. This is being recorded. Like I mentioned, if you have it on speaker view, that's the best way to view this presentation. So Ashley, good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome, happy Friday. Welcome to March. Last March did not treat anyone really well, so hopefully this one's a little bit better. I had a time hop where I was at the EOC literally 2 days, like beginning the 1st of March for a COVID meeting, and we're all sitting there side by side without masks on. It's so crazy. That was a year ago. But here we are, so still on Zoom. Session did start this week. It started on Tuesday, so things are kicking off. It is quite different than the previous years. Everything is still pretty much locked down at the Capitol. You have to be COVID tested to go in. You have to have appointments. They're doing a lot of appointments via phone or through Zoom and things like that. I know for committee meetings, there's a site off of the Capitol where you can go to do your testimonies unless you're invited actually into the committee meeting by a representative or senator. So that's a little bit different. And it's kind of interesting watching those meetings take place with that. So stuff starting to move. We do have a joint agenda through the chambers. It was approved. So we are going to email that out next week. And I will start looking at some of the stuff that we are watching and kind of update that as well of where it's at before I email that out. Virtual Bavard Day is on March 17th. It is $40 to attend. So you can sign up either on our website or the Melbourne Chamber website. And we highly encourage participation. It's going to be a lot different since it's virtual, but we want to still let everyone know how amazing Bavard is and everything that our chamber does for the community. So I think that's kind of a update on that. They're still doing revenue estimating stuff, so we'll see kind of where we fall in a shortfall of budget stuff, hopefully by next month. So yep.
Thank you, Ashley. Yes, so it is an interesting year. We finalized as a committee our legislative agenda for 2021. We have just finished working with the other 3 chambers of commerce in the county to combine our legislative agendas. So we have approved that, and that will be sent out to the committee and to our board probably by Monday or Tuesday of next week. So with that, we'll jump into the presentations. We have 5 city managers with us this morning, and we're so grateful that they're taking time out of their busy schedules to join us. So thank you very much. In order, we will be welcoming Jim McKnight from the city of Cocoa Beach, no stranger to the chamber family. Dr. Brenda Fettrow, also a past chairman of our board, city of Rockledge. Courtney Barker with the city of Satellite Beach. Todd Morley with the city of Cape Canaveral, and Stockton Whitten with the city of Cocoa. I emailed out to everybody. You should have received a copy of their biographies, just so, because if I read all of them, that would be the entire hour because they're very impressive. So I'm going to start with Jim McKnight, well, I guess you're kind of still my boss. You're on our exec committee, but our former boss, Jim McKnight with the city of Cocoa Beach. Welcome to the Chamber's Government Affairs Committee meeting.
Thank you, Jen. I want to start out by since we did a panel last time, we've had 2 new city managers come on board, Todd Morley at Cape Canaveral, and we are recently welcoming Stockton Whitten, certainly not new to the management group, but welcome both of you. I'm so glad to have you all, and I appreciate the leadership you're providing in your communities.
Thanks, Jim.
Just briefly, I want to just say that we're a year out now, and it's the impacts of COVID have been significant, but I think we're starting to rebound. I'm seeing really good signs for us as a community. I think we're seeing very good things for our county, and I think we've all had to make changes and do things on the fly and support each other. And I want to say thank you to each of you because we've had a lot of conversations this year because of what has been going on, and we've learned from each other. So I think that's the collaboration that occurs between governmental entities is very important, and it's never been more important than the last 12 months. So thank you for all of you who have helped me and have helped the chamber and have helped our communities weather these difficult times. I don't know what the other cities have seen, but we've seen financial impacts on the budgets that have made us push things around and push things back. However, we did get our initial financial reports this week, and we'll have our audit in a couple weeks presented to the commission, and it wasn't as bad as we thought. Of course, we all had to make changes, and we all had furloughs and things like that. But in all, the local governments from where I'm standing seem to have survived at least last year. We'll see what this year looks like, which I'm hoping is going to be a little better. If the parking revenue for us last weekend is any indication, the people are back. I mean, last weekend was crazy. I don't think the weather is going to support that this weekend, but we are seeing upticks in the number of people that are coming to our community. And of course, we have to put ourselves in a different mode when that happens, both from a public safety and the beaches and all the things that are a part of what we do in Cocoa Beach. We are currently working with our Main Street program. We're looking how we can roll some things out moving forward to start getting our community back together. We're not quite there yet. I can tell you we are going to have some special events over the next few months that will certainly bring some people to our community. In April, we'll be having the Cocoa Beach traditional Easter Surf Festival on Saturday and Sunday. I think Saturday's people and Sunday's dogs, which, by the way, I'm now a new dog owner. We have about 3 weeks ago, we got a little, I won't call him a puppy because he's 3. He's a rescue, and he goes nuts when I come home, and it's just amazing. I really enjoy that. But we're trying to look at how we can roll some things out in our community. And again, the air show will also be done in April the 17th and 18th. And we'll be also having the boat races come back in May 20 through 23rd. So we are seeing things start to come back. And of course, we have to approach everything cautiously and with a plan in order to be able to make sure we do our best to keep people safe. Our numbers are coming down in our community again. We're glad to see that. And we also hopefully, I know, Courtney, you guys have done an incredible job with your community paramedic program. We're learning from you. I think we're training with you today, and we hope to roll it out next week to be able to start addressing our shut-ins and homebound in our community with vaccinations. So thank you, Courtney, for letting us be a part of what y'all are doing. Finally, we have some new projects coming up. I guess everybody saw Howie D in the newspaper this week from the Backstreet Boys. That project had an official groundbreaking this week. It probably won't be completed until 23. I can't even wrap my head around the fact that you've got 25 units that sell between $975,000 and $2.4 million. It certainly priced me out of it anyway. But anyway, we're excited. That's a project we've been waiting for. I also have, I probably can't see it very well, but we had our first planning board meeting on the new Whitten. And again, nope, it's not going to show. But we have received that. That's going to be a huge project for our community. For those of you who are not aware, it will go where International Palms is currently. That will be demolished. And we're finishing a sewer project in support of that right now. And it'll be the same number of units, 500 hotel units, plus a convention center, plus a parking garage, and retail, restaurant, the whole works. It's quite impressive looking, and our commission will see it for the first time on March 18th. So we are seeing property values go up in our community. Just I think it was the end of January, we saw a 900 square foot house on A1A. It had been renovated very nicely, sold for $525,000. And I'm like, this is something I don't quite understand, but we are seeing a lot of redevelopment starting to occur, and it looks like the cycle's beginning to pick back up for reinvestment back into the community. So those are some of the things that are happening in Cocoa Beach. We are continuing to move forward with public works projects we have, and hopefully eventually As you know, our new police headquarters building is under construction, and we should be occupying in October. And we're going to start moving our attention to building a new city hall on that. For those of you who don't know, I will be retiring sometime next year. Probably won't be around for the building of the new city hall, but I haven't given an official date yet, but it'll be sometime next year. But it's been a great, what will be 43 years in local government when I get to that point. So I've enjoyed every minute of it, and working with people like each of you makes it that much better. And working with citizens is really one of the, people think, oh, that must be terrible. No, it's actually wonderful to be able to work with citizens and see things get done. So I think I've taken my time, so I will give way to Brenda.
Thank you, Jim. And it's adorable. You think you're retiring? That's wonderful news. He'll still be around the chamber though, and he's such a great community-minded person. So thank you for being here. Really briefly before we get to Dr. Fettrow, and I know she has to go, because we have staggered schedules this morning, if there's a specific question you have for Jim regarding the city of Cocoa Beach, if you will either raise your hand or unmute yourself and ask him now. Just because we have a couple city managers that have to leave early, so I want to make sure you get your questions asked to them. So any questions for Jim? Yes, he is a Bama fan. I'll get that out of the way. Any other questions? Oh, there's the mask. All right, I'm just looking for tiny hands. All right, if no one wants to unmute and ask their question, I'll move on to City of Rockledge. Okay. All right. So next up, we have Dr. Brenda Fettrow. Like I said, she is the city manager of the City of Rockledge and also a past president / chair of the chamber. So welcome, Dr. Fettrow. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you, everyone. I want to start with Jim. We're not going to let you retire. There's too much wisdom and knowledge there. So you're going to be around. It is really a pleasure to work with such wonderful professionals. All the city managers on this call, they are great individuals, very caring, and work, as Jim says, with citizens and everyone in their community. So it's an honor and a privilege to serve with them. I'm not going to go over more of the COVID stuff, as Jim covered it quite nicely, what we've seen the last year, the effects. And so each city probably would have a similar report for you. So it's pretty similar for Rockledge with regard to COVID. Regarding our events, of course, like others, we had to cancel pretty much all of our events for the last year. We're looking to revamp and bring back some events. Ours may not be until June, July-ish, till we see how many shots get in arms. And so we're all monitoring that closely and seeing how the vaccines are getting out there into the community. So stay tuned. We'll certainly get that information out as those events are scheduled and held. I would like to turn to the development in the city of Rockledge, because despite COVID, we've just been going gangbusters and doing very, very well. So I want to quickly kind of report out a lot of various projects going on. And I'm going to start and do it sort of geographically. So if you can follow me, if you will, as I describe along the city. So starting in the northwest portion along Plucky Bomb Road. So I know all of y'all probably know the city pretty well and the street names that I'm about to say. So Plucky Bomb, at Plucky Bomb and Clear Lake Road. A new development called Harvest Landing is going on the south side there of Plucky Bomb. It'll be 364 single family homes. Very nice development going in there on the south side of Plucky Bomb, just west of a community called Sierra Lakes. Then if you come down Fisk Boulevard, as you all know, Fisk Boulevard is in the process of being repaved. And so it'll be repaved, sidewalks joined where there are no sidewalks. There are some gaps there, and then bike pathways created as well. So go down south on Fisk to I-95. So at Barnes Boulevard, I-95 and Fisk. We have a hotel going in there called Sleep Inn and Mainstay Suites, right there beside Ruby Tuesdays, in front of Lowe's. So there'll be a new hotel there. We're very excited about that. And then literally just in the last couple of weeks, On the south or west side of Barnes, sort of across from Lowe's on the south side, there will likely be another set of apartments going in there. 240 apartments with 3 out parcels. So also very exciting. That's in the very preliminary stage. So if you were to come back up to Barton Boulevard, we have a whole host of things going on Barton Boulevard, starting at Village Green at the west end. That property has been purchased. So you all may recall that's been blighted for some time. That's been purchased. I can't say the name officially yet, but the minute they close, we'll get that out there. There's likely to be a very, very interesting grocery store to come in there. And the citizens, everybody's very excited about that and happy. Also, so if you come now along Barton East, just south of City Hall, there'll be a new Beach Fly Brewery coming to Rockledge. So we're very excited about that. They're going to name a drink after several. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, we're going to have a brewery here in the city of Rockledge. And then continuing to go east, you all, I'm sure, have seen the Rockledge Flats apartments, 225-ish apartments there where the old Kmart used to be, the north side of Barton Boulevard. And Double D Barbecue has moved into that little plaza as well. And of course, a My Island Pancake is just south of that across the street from those apartments. A couple of others are coming on Barton. Too preliminary to really say, but know that we have a lot going on Barton Boulevard. Then going sort of onto US 1, I know all of us know about Rockledge Gardens. They've been here for 60 years. So Kevin and Teresa are seeking to go to the next chapter in their lives, to retirement. So they are looking for a new owner with a similar vision. So I don't think you'll see too much of a change there, but it will eventually be under new ownership. So we wish them well and want to continue to partner with whoever the new owners are, because that's kind of a southern gateway into the city of Rockledge, if you will. And also going back, sort of circling around now to Roy Wall, which is kind of intersects with Murrell on the east end and Fisk on the west end. So going back to the Roy Wall and Fisk, we have some senior centers, a senior center going in there. It's called Allure, and it'll have 127 apartments, but from a range of care, from full independent living to memory care. I've already tried to reserve a room there so I can be taken care of. So anyway, we have a lot going on. I know I kind of quickly went around the city. One other thing, sorry, Lake Betsy, the Lake Betsy recreational area, kind of north of Barton, north on Cogswell. Actually, it's in the McKnight Family Sports Complex, just to the north of that. We're looking to do a lot more there with the pathways, maybe some exercise station, low-level lighting, and more signage. We want to make sure that the citizens, everybody knows that's there and what a wonderful recreational area that is. So you'll be seeing more there as well. So I know that was a quick rundown, but I'm going to stop there. The city of Rockledge is doing very, very well despite COVID. We fortunately only had probably over the last year, maybe 12 to 14 individuals, meaning employees, to unfortunately get COVID, but thankfully recovered well. And we didn't have any serious outbreaks here at the city, like an entire shift or something. We did not have that happen. So we're very blessed, and we're getting through it. So appreciate everybody's support and interest, and I'd be happy to answer any questions if there are any. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Fettrow. We appreciate your time this morning. And I see a question came through the chat for the city of Cocoa, so we'll hold that for just a minute. But any questions for the city of Rockledge or the city of Cocoa Beach, since they're still on, just go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question.
Good morning. This is Clint Hatcher from Career Source Brevard.
Hi, Clinton.
Hey, how you doing, Jennifer?
Good.
I just had a quick question, just trying to gain some understanding. I was reading something maybe a few months ago about the city of Rockledge expanding west of I-95. I just wanted to know if you could speak to that if that was something that was gonna be happening in the next 2 to 5 years, or if that's something that's like a 10 to 20 year outlook.
Clinton, that's a great question. I'll send you a check for teeing that up for me. Thank you. Yes, absolutely. The city council actually early in 2020 did annex about 850 acres west of 95. So we do have that property in our city. We are working with the owners and developer for the vision that will go out there. I can't say too much just yet because it's not been presented publicly. But yes, you will likely see that a 3 to 5 year, maybe 4 to 7 year timeline, but not the 15 to 20 year. I think you'll see more activity here in the short term for development. Again, 3 to 5, 4 to 6 years, not 20 years out.
Thank
But
you.
It's an intersection with 95. So I think most of you could imagine some of what will go out there, but again, I can't really disclose too much yet, but stay tuned. It's again, very, very exciting.
Thanks, Clinton. Anyone else have any questions for Dr. Fettrow? Okay. As soon as I move on, someone's going to pop on. All right, moving on, the Birds of Satellite Beach are joining me in welcoming our next presenter, which is Ms. Courtney Barker with the City of Satellite Beach. She is the city manager. So Courtney, I have to remain neutral about favorite cities, but good morning. Welcome to the panel.
Well, thank you, Jennifer. I appreciate you putting this together. So I wanted to just talk about a number of things. I also want to talk about, or just give a shout out to all my other city managers that we serve with. We have a great relationship and a great working relationship with each other, and help out each other a lot. Probably more than the general public realizes how much we collaborate and get together and share not only information, but even services and personnel. So, it's kind of funny that Jim is threatening to retire again. We all kind of laughed the first time he threatened to retire, or actually did retire, and we knew that he was going to go on to other things. So we're waiting for the next city he goes to after he retires. But we in our city, we had, after the last, I would say, the last 3 hurricanes, our city council was very much interested in working to make our city more resilient, and not only from an infrastructure standpoint, but also from a financial standpoint. When we had the city manager for Panama City come to speak to us about what they went through with their Cat 5, basically, it became clear that the need for reserves was a big deal. And not only just some reserves, but a lot of reserves. And the financial impacts that they experienced from that hurricane gave the council enough, I guess, kick in the pants to start building our reserves, our financial reserves, quite a bit. We are doing that, so we have a significant amount built up so far. But the COVID issue, kind of impacted that. We had most of our financial impacts with COVID really with the recreation side, fee side. We really didn't have a lot of property tax impacts or anything like that, but it was really our program fees, because everything really kind of shut down for about 3 months in the most popular time for recreation. So we have a lot of recreation programs at our DRS center, and that was probably our biggest impact. We are seeing an increase in visitors to our beaches, just like Cocoa Beach and any of the beachside cities. Our maintenance costs for our major parks have increased to the point where our council is starting to look at paid parking. So we are moving through that. They established a parking committee to look at that issue, and the parking committee recommended to start charging for parking for non-residents, and recognizing that the residents here in Satellite have been footing the bill for the maintenance of our beach parks basically on their own for the last 33 years at least, for the large parks like Pelican Beach Park and Hightower Beach Park. So we are moving through that issue and that conversation with the county to talk about establishing paid parking. We have a lot of infrastructure projects going on right now. We have significant stormwater projects. If you drive down Jackson Avenue, you'll see a massive pond being constructed. You'll see large pipes going in the ground on Park Avenue, Pineapple, Orange. All of those are to address flooding as well as nutrients going into the Indian River Lagoon. So we have, I would say right now, 5 massive infrastructure or stormwater projects being constructed right now. We also have, unfortunately in our city, it's just a fact. We're at that age where we have to replace everything. So when the Public Works building was built in the late 50s, early 60s, we didn't have Pelican Beach Park. We didn't have Hightower Beach Park. We didn't have the sports park. We didn't have the DRS Center. All of these, DeSoto Park, all of these parks came on later. All of these maintenance responsibilities came later. So our Public Works department is probably about 3 times the size as it was back in the early 60s. So the building that they're in right now is completely inadequate, and we are now constructing a new Public Works facility at the lot right next to Satellite High School. So if you drive down Jackson, you'll see that being constructed right now next to the dentist's office. And in about 2 years, we will be moving the fire department to a new building right next on the same site right next to the Public Works building. And the old fire station, the council is going through options right now of what they want to do with that property. But we're not building another fire station. That fire station will not be used. The old fire station will not be used for the fire department anymore. And that's largely because back when it was built for a volunteer fire department. Since then, we've gotten responsibilities, not just with an increasing population, but also with increasing services. We now do EMS services. We now have a community paramedic program for our community. So it's our functions have expanded, and the buildings that we have now are they're to the point where we have to address not only the size of them, but also the condition of them. If you go to, there's a building right now at the Public Works site that we could condemn today. And the staff makes kind of jokes about the amount of rats that they have been able to capture in the building. So it's not only just a need for space, but it's also a need to address dilapidated buildings that just need to be replaced. We also have some development coming in our community, which is great. We have a new project called The View. About 50% of the city absolutely hates this project, and about 50% of the city thinks it's great. So it's one of those. It's there's going to be 3 8-story condominium buildings, 72 single-family homes that are in the price range of about $800,000 to $900,000, and then there's going to be a 4-star luxury hotel on that site of about, I think it's 270 units, and with conference space, restaurant, rooftop bar, all that. That is under construction now. They're doing the site work for that project as we speak. And I believe the single family home lots have been sold to a builder to start construction as soon as they get the site work done. With regard to our community housing prices, like Jim was saying, we have houses in Satellite Beach are selling before they even hit the market. I could tell you, and I live in Montecito, I get probably 3 to 4 flyers from realtors a day asking me if I want to sell my home. I actually have them calling me. So the supply is definitely not there for the demand. And that's really driving up the housing prices here in the city. We have, I believe the last house I saw sold was a a concrete block, typical Satellite Beach home, 2-car garage, 3-bedroom, no pool, and it sold for $460,000. So that's where we're at with housing prices. I don't think I've ever seen anything like it without the building that was going on at the same time. We've been giving out vaccines in our community. Our fire department has taken that on. It took a lot of persistence with working with the EOC and the health department to convince them to give us vaccines to give out to the community. We were able to get 79 of our in-home shut-ins that our community paramedics take care of. We've been able to give them all vaccines. We've given out 712 vaccines to the general community, and we are doing more today. I think we're doing 125 today. Senator Mayfield has been instrumental in getting us some vaccines to be able to take care of some of the beachside residents. So we are continuing that program at our fire department. We are trying to meet with the other city managers to talk about, partnering when more vaccines get delivered to the health department to see if we can, help with the distribution of that. And the only other thing I wanted to give an update on is that may interest the chamber members is that we are in our community really fighting a fight at the legislative level with regard to short-term rentals and being able to regulate them on a local level. There's many cities that have embraced short-term rentals, and that's great for them. That's something that they want in their economy. In our community in Satellite Beach, we are a very family-oriented community. Many of the people who live here now grew up here, like myself, went to college, came back here, or raising their families here, and they don't want to have ever-changing neighbors next door to them and all of the things that go along with that, like the parties and so on. So we are fighting for local control of being able to locally regulate short-term rentals, and that is a constant battle every year for us. So I think, we just want to get across to people who may be in support of them. We do allow them on the east side of A1A in the condominiums, because that is what condominiums do, and that's our snowbird population, and that's great. But in our single family neighborhoods, we want to be able to control that and regulate that on a local level. So we are fighting that fight on a regular basis with the legislature. I think the last committee hearing I went to, the sponsor of the House bill called local government socialists. So that's, some of the perceptions that we're having to deal with on the legislative level. And other than that, I think we're doing great in our community. We have lots of wonderful services that our residents love. And so we're hoping that, we continue to be able to keep our, economy running the way it is and improving, so we can continue, providing all those services. And that's all I got.
Courtney, thank you. And all of our city managers, when I watch what happens with the banter back and forth online, you guys meet it. And Courtney, I just want to say, Chris and I get our popcorn every time we see someone come against you on social media, because you meet them with facts and fierceness, and you are just a really great city manager. So quick plug for you.
Thank you.
Any questions? I know I have one, but I'm going to not be selfish. Anyone have any questions first for Courtney for City of Satellite Beach? Just unmute and ask your question. Everyone's so quiet this morning. The coffee's not all the way in. Okay, well, I'll start with the question then. I know on the playground, I hear a lot of banter back and forth. Is anything changing on Cinnamon with the playground that's there next to the current rat-infested Public Works building?
No, that playground is like a it's fiercely protected by even parents that have older kids like mine, because we remember taking our little kids there, and there's few playgrounds that are small enough for smaller kids. So we want to keep that there the way it is. So we are turning the old Public Works site into a yard for them, largely because I'm tired of seeing their dirt piles at the sports park and pipes laying on the side of the road because they have nowhere to put them. So we are going to be, putting a big fence and blocking off from the view all the yucky things that they got to store, and because they have to have their their dirt and their pipes. So, but we will be building around that, and the cinema park will stay exactly the way it is.
Thank you. I'll call off my team of moms that we're gonna strap ourselves to the fence if you were pulling it down. Okay, any other questions for Courtney?
Hey, Jen, this is Joe Rowlett. I have one question.
Hi, Joe.
Hey, good morning. So you had mentioned working with some of the other cities. How closely do you work with the city I grew up in, Indian Harbor Beach? I know certain times you guys work very closely, and other times it seems to be a little bit of a disconnect. How are we doing right now with IHB?
Well, what's interesting is when I first started, apparently there was a pretty bad blood between the two cities. And then they hired Mark Ryan, who used to be my boss in Titusville. So we've been friends for, God, now it's kind of 18 years at least. So we get along great. We have like shared ditches between the two cities for stormwater that we jointly maintain. Our fire department works well with their fire department. Our police departments are very, very much partnering constantly. So right now we are vaccinating their police department, for example. So we work really well with them, and we talk a lot. Unfortunately, for Indian Harbor Beach with short-term rentals, they did not have a grandfathered ordinance that prevented some of their short-term rental issues. And we did, but we support them every hearing in Tallahassee to help them out. So we work really well together.
Thank you. Any other questions for Courtney? There's a couple compliments for you in the chat, and compliment about our Publix and their distribution of the vaccines. So make sure you go look at those. I encourage everybody to look at the chat because there's a lot of great back and forth in there, and invitations and information on different things. So thank you, Courtney, for being here. We're going to move on now to another beachside community with the city of Cape Canaveral. We have the city manager, Todd Morley, who, as Jim said, is new since one of these. So welcome. Todd Morley with the city of Cape Canaveral. Thanks for being here.
Good morning, Jennifer. I don't know if you can see me. My camera doesn't seem to be working.
I cannot see you, but your name looks great.
Okay. Pushing this button several times and it's not coming on. So
We
it's
can hear
probably
you.
user error.
Wonderful.
Okay. Todd Morley, City Cape Canaveral, thank you for having me on this panel this morning. And I have to say it is a privilege to work with you all, to work with these city managers. As been said several times, these city managers are a wonderful group. And yes, we do share all the time. We have no need to reinvent the wheel when we can just borrow it for free from each other. And I got to say, speaking of Indian Harbor Beach, Mark Ryan is what an asset he is, because he is the one who takes the lion's share of the load to keep us all informed about what's going on at the state legislature level. But I'll get to that in a moment. Very happy to have a supportive city council. Yes, I'm new to the position of city manager. I've been in this role for about a year and a half, but I'm no stranger to the city of Cape Canaveral. This is my 19th year working there, and I'm a lifelong Brevard County resident, and I'm no stranger to working with the chamber and speaking at chamber events. So thank you for having me. The city of Cape Canaveral is a little bit different than a lot of cities in Brevard County in that we're the smallest, we're among the smallest, I should say, 1.9 square miles, but we have over 10,000 people. With the projections from the 2020 census coming in, we're about 10,600 people. So one of the densest cities in Brevard County. As far as COVID goes, we're pretty much suffering the same fate that all of these cities are, and it kind of tracks the same. One of the things that Jim McKnight and I both did early on in COVID was started tracking our COVID numbers in the wastewater effluent. There are some scientists much smarter than me that figured out you can estimate the number of COVID cases you have by looking at your effluent. So that has been tracking with all the reports you've been getting. Up and down, like everyone says, for us, it tends to go up when there's a rocket launch or a spring break, or some kind of a large influx of people. Our reaction to COVID over the last year was, we are all figuring out what to do. It was a brand new thing for us. So we started off by closing beach parking, and that became very controversial until the city council finally realized that That's not stopping people from coming to the beach, especially when you've got CDC saying go outside, do things outside. So we let go of that. We had City Hall closed for a while, people working remotely. That was a struggle at first because we weren't prepared for people to work remotely, but we were very nimble. We made it so that all the employees that could work remotely were able to work remotely. And of course, those that couldn't, or the people that, you've got people manning the sewer plant, for example, they've got to be there. But it really worked out well. And I've got to say thank you to the council for being so supportive of that. And we're still maintaining the protocols. So there's still temperature checks in City Hall required for all city employees. Masks are required for all city employees unless you're sitting, in your own office, but closed off. And we're still meeting with the public. We never stopped our services. Building inspection services kept going. You could still get your business tax receipt. Everything still kept going, never stopped. Thank goodness we finally got online with all of that stuff. That worked out well. We are ahead of that. Online permitting, online BTRs, et cetera. Our city council approved a number of business and residential assistance programs, mostly financial, but some otherwise. For instance, businesses, we've always had a prohibition on feather flag signs. If you're familiar, I know you know what those are, but we allowed them for businesses during COVID for the period that we're under the emergency declaration. And what I mean by that is we have a local emergency declaration. And as long as that is not repealed by city council, that gets to stay in. Also, we did fee reductions for building permits, zoning applications, you name it, across the board, everything's reduced 50%, and it still is to this day. Our city events they came to a hard stop when COVID happened. The only thing that really has opened up has been the movie in the park, because we trusted our residents would follow the rules, and they have. They've been wonderful. They want to have these city events, and that's really the only one we have, a monthly movie in the park. Of course, we get asked all the time, when are you going to have the Friday Fests again? People love the Friday Fest, but we just can't do that right now until the numbers are in our favor. Speaking of development trends, everybody's talking about development trends, and I want to talk about where we are as a city. Our residential development trends, we've never really had a whole lot of residential development, but we did during the boom, the 2006, 2007, which was pre-recession. And then we were all hit with a foreclosure crisis. Everybody remembers that. Well, those units are all now nearing 100% occupancy, and those prices, we're seeing the same residential prices that Jim talked about, that Courtney talked about. It's just amazing that happens. But there's been no new residential capacity to speak of, just a couple tear downs here and there. The biggest development trend for us continues to be the hotels. And we all know that's because of our proximity to the port. And naturally the cruise industry is down right now, but that's a big driver for hotels. The rule of thumb that we hear from our hoteliers is 50% of their business is the cruise industry. So we have about 1,100 hotel rooms in the city of Cape Canaveral now, which represents more than 10% of all the hotel rooms in the county, which is strange for a tiny 1.9 square mile city. But when you think about the fact that we're right next to the second busiest cruise port in the world, it makes sense. You might wonder why a hotel started during COVID. That's a good question. We did have one start during COVID. And the simple answer to that is it's faith. They have faith that this industry will bounce back, and there's no reason that it shouldn't. We had a 224 room hotel open up during COVID. We had another 150 room hotel open up during COVID. And that's rough to open something like that, and your numbers are down. Normally in the city of Cape Canaveral, our low season is in the 60% occupancy, and our high is in the 95, 97%. Now it was down in the teens, 15% in the low, and the high that fortunately got up a couple times in the mid 60s, but still the revenue loss is astounding when you look at the costs for running hotels like that, and the staffing, and of course reductions in staffing. So the hotel industry has certainly taken a hit, but their faith is still there. That's the message about that. Capital projects in the city of Cape Canaveral. I'm sure most of everyone has seen our new city hall. We're so grateful to have that beautiful 18,000 square foot building right out front on A1A. That was due to the strength of the city council and their willingness to move forward and let's do what we say we're going to do. We're going to lead by example. Let's do it. Other developments for the city we have ongoing. We're building a new multi-generational facility at Canaveral City Park. It is another 18,000 square foot facility. It'll have an indoor gymnasium, a fitness center, and that broke ground in December, and they're getting ready to pour the slab for it within the next week. Following right on the heels of that, we're going to have our CAPE Center, CAP, Cultural Arts Preservation and Enrichment. It is the easiest way to think of it is a city museum. It's repurposing of the old City Hall, the building that's been on Polk Avenue for 55 years. It will be a place for the arts. It will be a place for museum for our cultural heritage. We are very fortunate to have I would call her a certified historian on staff, Molly Thomas. She is able to curate all these many things, and she has wonderful relationships with the state and different counties and the traveling exhibits that will come through also. It'll be a great gathering place. And I think in some eyes, it's seen as a linger longer, you know, if you're familiar with that term when you're visiting the area. The other issue I want to talk about, and Courtney hit on this also, is the short-term rentals. It's not unlike the other beach cities. We have been discovered by the short-term rental industry. We were told that City of Cape Canaveral is number 12 fastest growing worldwide by Airbnb. This was about 16, 18 months ago. And we look at the numbers, and the only thing we have to go by is our business tax receipts. And we're looking at 500 plus units that we've got in our city. I'm not saying that captures all of them, but that's the ones we know of. We also have a grandfathered ordinance like Courtney does. Ours says our minimum rental is 7 days. Obviously, that doesn't apply to hotels. Hotels, they're in a commercial district. They can have one night rentals, that's fine. But all the residential areas have a minimum 7-day rental. That code's been there since about 85, 86. And it survived all of the legislative challenges that have been thrown towards us. But we hear resident complaints about the party house next door, the noise, the parking all over the street, the trash. And why are people, different sets of people coming in every 2 or 3 days? They're not following your 7-day minimum rental. Well, it's awfully darn hard for code enforcement to track how quickly a rental turns over. It's nearly impossible. How do you do it? And when you're looking at 500 plus units. So what we did is we served up to City Council an option, and they're considering it right now, where a software company will track it for us. So they have what they call web crawling. They go out and they look at the VRBOs and the Airbnbs and all the other companies, even the new ones as they come online. And they look at the calendar data, they look at the reviews, and they're able to put together a compliance profile for all of your short-term rentals in your city. And that data has been proven to meet the standard for evidentiary standard to go to court and be proven as a violation. So we're evaluating that. That would be a tool for our code enforcement officers to use. If you're a good actor, you don't have anything to worry about. You bought your short-term rental in the city of Cape Canaveral. You were aware of the minimum 7-day rental. You're not going to have party goers. You're not going to have trash and parking issues. It's a non-issue if you're a good actor. But if you're a bad actor, you're going to be possibly fined for violating our city code, which that's our job to do, is to support our city code. So we proposed that to the city council. They've had 3 public meetings on it already. The 4th one will be next week. There will be an ordinance that proposed there that would actually make this law if it comes to pass. So that's it's been a debated issue in our community, because you've got residents who are owners of short-term rentals, and then residents who aren't, and they're on each side of the fence there. You've also got investors, and they put their entire life savings into this industry. We don't want to hurt them, but we just want to support our regulations. So that leads me into the issue of home rule, and Courtney talked about this also. Home rule is simply, I know you all know this, it's just the ability for a city to govern itself. And it's been granted to the cities by state legislature eons ago. that the government closest to the people is best for the people. But what has been happening, trickle at first, but now it's becoming a landslide, is the Florida legislature is eroding that home rule, and they're taking things to themselves to be regulated by the state rather than at the local level. So short-term rentals is a good one, and as Courtney said, that's being considered here, that they would basically neuter anything that we would do to regulate short-term rentals, which gives us no authority at all. And what we try to tell our constituency is, hey, do you want to be governed by an organization hundreds and hundreds of miles away from you, where you may not be able to just drop in and see that person who's the chief regulator or the board? Or do you want to actually have a relationship with your council member that you can actually affect change locally? You can go and meet with the city manager any day. You're taking that control away from the residents, the citizens, the business owners, and that's ultimately going to be very harmful. It doesn't matter what side of the short-term rentals argument you're on. I think we can all agree that the government closest to the people should be the one that the people interact with. So keep that in mind as you look at these bills that are going forward to Florida legislature. They've been trying to do away with business tax receipts for a long time. They talking ultimately about removing zoning, so you could have a bowling alley next to your house. They can have whatever they want to do on their property, kind of a thing. So it's something really worth paying attention to. I want to close with where we are with our city council right now. We're entering our budget season, and we always kick off our budget season with a strategic planning retreat every year, except last year because of COVID. But we're doing it this year, and it's a time when the council gets to get together and say, hey, what do we really feel like doing this next year, and how have we been doing? And we measure ourselves and our progress against previous year's strategic planning retreats. And some of the items that we're putting before city council for their consideration, of course they'll have ideas of their own, but one of them is our resiliency plan. There's several cities who've done this. I know Stockton will talk about this in the city of Cocoa, and we kind of followed. We didn't build that wheel. We just borrowed theirs. The resiliency plan, where you look at, hey, what are our threats, or ecological threats over the next 10, 20, 50, 100 years, and let's be prepared for them. So we put a set of preparedness targets out there that are goals that would address the impacts of climate change. And what it does, and quite simply the reason we do it, is it keeps it on our radar, it gets everybody on board, and when we put items in front of the council that support those resiliency goals, they get approved because it meets the plan. If you don't have a plan, you don't know where you're going to go. So a resiliency plan is chief among the things we're presenting at the retreat. Also, we're doing something new. We're proposing a presidential streets neighborhood plan. I don't know if you're familiar with the presidential streets in Cape Canaveral, from Washington all the way down to Grant is where we end. Some of the oldest housing inventory that we have, and the oldest infrastructure as well. We're taking a holistic approach to looking at all of the needs of this presidential streets area and creating a plan, a template for how we will reinvest in this area of the city. And we don't know how that's going to look when it turns out, but we really believe, at least we'll see what council says about this, that in reinvesting in your city is never a bad thing. And if you can keep reinvesting in your residential housing stock, making it a better place to live, to work and play, you're going to have higher property values, which works for everybody's best interest. And the last thing I wanted to say about what we're presenting to City Council is what we're calling a revisioning. We did a visioning session, series of sessions in 2009, where we met over several meetings with several hundred residents at the Radisson, and with poster boards and speakers, and basically said, what do you want to be when you grow up? And that created a roadmap, a 100-page roadmap of what we want to be when we grew up. And we've been following that very closely, which is why I think you could all agree Cape Canaveral's changed a lot in the last 10 years. It's because of that visioning. Well, we feel it's time to do it again because so much has changed, mindsets have changed, that we want to go back to the community and ask, let's take our time and think about this. Where do we really want to go from a larger scale perspective? Obviously resiliency, yes, but let's think of the whole city where we want to go. So we're going to be proposing a revisioning session for 2021, 2022, hopefully whenever COVID is done. So it's been a challenging year for all of us, but as Jim said, as Courtney said, as Brenda said, we're all still moving forward, and we're very grateful for that. It's been great, actually. The city staff hasn't been reduced. Revenues are enough, and certainly there have been a lot of revenues lost, but we've been able to manage, and we're very grateful. And with that, Jennifer, I'll turn it back over to you with all my thanks for having us on this morning.
Thank you, Todd. Wonderful job. I really appreciate you being here this morning. Does anyone have any questions for Todd Morley with the City of Cape Canaveral? Just unmute and ask your question. I'm going to check the chat as well. Okay, lots of compliments in the chat. I don't see any questions for you yet. Anyone have a question for Todd? Rob Rains wants to know when the Wicked Gardenums are playing next.
Oh, thanks, Rob. Rob knows that I'm also an amateur musician with a band that plays around the community, but we haven't for a year because of COVID. And boy, do I miss it. I play keyboards and guitar and I sing with my band, and man, I just can't wait to get back to it. Rob, the answer is I don't know, but I miss it.
Our city managers are multi-talented. Thanks for being here this morning, Todd. We really appreciate it. We are running just a few minutes over, but it's worth it. And now to our most patient city manager who had to go last, I'm going to ask Stockton Whitten with the City of Cocoa to unmute. Stockton's no stranger to Brevard County. When I first came to the county, he was managing the county. So good to see you back in this role, Stockton, and welcome to the Chamber's Government Affairs Committee meeting. I'll ask you to unmute. It's your turn. Thanks for being patient. You're unmuted. Yay.
Thank you. I am unmuted there. Thank you very much, and good morning to everyone. I will echo all of the sentiments of the previous city managers, and in particular, how well we work together and how candid we are with each other on important matters between cities there. And so, again, I agree with all of the previous comments there, and happy to be in the city of Cocoa since October 9th, 2020. And we think that we are poised to do great things, and certainly had a very good week this week. And I'm going to take you through some of those things and try to share the screen with you to do that. And so hopefully, Jennifer, this will happen. Maybe not.
Hit that green share screen button on the bottom. There you go. I see something. You're
Got
in.
it.
Yeah.
So in the city of Cocoa, we are really focusing on opening up the city and being more accommodating to businesses, and being more transparent, and just being more efficient in terms of doing business with the city, and so that you can do your business as a builder, as a contractor, as a restaurant owner, or what have you there. And so one of the things that we've done most recently is online permitting. And you would think that, and Jennifer, can you guys see that? Should be online permitting.
Yep, we can see online permitting. We can also see your next slide, so you might want to move it to like a full slideshow.
Yeah, I tried to do
just that slide.
I tried to do that, but that's okay.
Okay. Yep, we can see it.
So on online permitting, you think this is very basic in 2021, but the city had not been doing online permitting. And so just this week, we went live with 24 different types of permits that you can get online. And so we're very excited about that. We actually had 4 permits issued within the first hour of opening up the portal. And so we think that's going to be a very good service for the citizens. As you can see, you can get 24 different types of permits online, and we'll quickly move from those basic small sort of jobs to additional building permits, and also the planning and zoning process, and then the business tax receipts there. So we've set that up to where those will be our sort of the next sort of venture for us will be in those 3 areas there. We actually brought this online in three months. And so that was a very quick work on the part of staff there, and I'm really happy that they got there. So you guys probably saw in the paper, you saw in the news that Amazon is coming to the city of Cocoa, and we're very excited about that. The good thing for me is that these items were in the queue, and so it's just a matter of me either encouraging them, dragging them, or facilitating them going over the finish line. And so Amazon will bring approximately 200 plus jobs, paying starting salaries of $15 an hour. And they'll do that very quickly. If they start here in the next month or so, they anticipate that they'll be open up by the end of this calendar year. So looking forward to that. Everybody's talked about development, and you saw probably in the paper this past weekend, the Cirrus apartment complex, which is a 280 unit luxury apartment complex. And that that's really good in and of itself. But the really good thing about this is that it is sort of an infill project there. It's in the old Winn-Dixie Plaza on 524, which has been empty for approximately 15 years. And so we're excited about that. We have a number of, we also have some single family development going on, and we'll have Lakeside Palms West, which is pretty close to the area that Dr. Fettrow was speaking of on their development there. So it really actually is across the street, and that'll be an 86 unit single family development there. So we're really encouraged by the development that we're seeing within the city of Cocoa. Next, Cocoa Village is transforming. Cocoa Village is still quaint and what we're all used to seeing in the daytime, and in the nighttime, it becomes something different. The council approved, I think it was last month, the development of the old SunTrust building, and I heard a lot of people talk about coffee and their favorite sort of coffee, if you will, this morning. And so that building, which has been, again, the old SunTrust building, which has been vacant for a number of years, will be transformed into actually 3 sort of storefronts, one being the national coffee chain that hopefully will come very soon. FEMA just announced this week that they are providing a grant to the city to improve drainage and flooding along Fitz Boulevard and Broadmoor Acres, which is really one of the older communities in the city, and that is a 50-year problem that we now can address with the assistance of FEMA. So we're very excited about that. We are recruiting and currently recruiting for most of the applicants. The initial applicants thought we were recruiting for the police chief of Cocoa Beach, and we have to actually advise them that no, it's not Cocoa Beach, it's the city of Cocoa, and so we are recruiting in the middle of recruiting for the police chief. Very, very important position. We have a fine committee of citizens that are paring down right now the sort of a second listing of or a second sort of phase of pared down candidates of 17 candidates, and so they are going through the process of Zoom interviewing probably 10 of those 17 candidates, and ultimately will provide me with a short listing of 3 to 5 candidates. And so very proud of the work that committee is doing, and they've sort of dove in, and they're actually taking that matter very seriously and working very hard to make sure that we get a police chief that will be responsive to the needs of the community, will actually encourage community policing, and is a 21st century police chief there. So very, very excited about that. In October, the council approved the city's first sustainability action plan. very proud of that. And I see my favorite councilwoman is on the Zoom committee there. And so just very, very proud of that. And that committee continues to work at further refining that plan. And so we're excited about what's happening in the city of Cocoa. We think that we're up and coming, and we're going to continue to work very hard to achieve that. Sort of dovetailing into that, we've gone through a series of priority planning meetings with the council, and we'll continue to do that. One of the most critical things that we have to do is updating the strategic plan. And so hopefully within a matter of months, in addition to budget development and all the things that go on, all of the everyday sort of activity, we'll be able to sit down with the council and plan out the city for the next 5 years. And so again, excited about being able to get to an updating, a revamping, or even a replacement of the city strategic plan. I am happy to take questions, and I am hopeful that I can provide some answers.
Thank you, Stockton. Does anyone have any questions for Stockton Whitten with the city of Cocoa? Just unmute and ask your question. There was one from earlier in the chat, so once you stop sharing your screen, I'll pull that up if no one else has any questions.
I'm pretty sure I stopped sharing.
You did. You did a great job. I'm very proud of your IT skills. You're excelling faster than I am.
Sure.
Jen, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
It seems like parking in the village, you can never find a parking place, no matter what time of day you get there. Is there a chance that there's going to be some improved parking, like a parking garage or parking lot or something?
Yeah, I don't know that we'll ultimately get to a parking garage there. Every time I mention that, I have to actually have somebody crank my car up. So we are aware of the parking issue. We're sort of addressing it right now. There's a parking study that is underway. So we actually have a consultant looking at sort of off-site and roadside parking. I think that consultant is due to come back to the council sometime this month. So we're looking at that. The board just last month gave me permission to go and negotiate with a private property owner who has some parcels here in the city that perhaps we can convert to parking. And so I'm going to be working with that gentleman to try to strike a deal there. But we are aware of the parking issues, and so trying to address those through sort of a satellite and cluster parking, and then sort of reconfiguring the on-street parking.
Thank you very much. We had a question come through the chat. Will you have a facilitator for strategic planning?
Was that submitted by Councilwoman Cost?
It might have been submitted by one of your favorites. I wasn't trying to throw her under the bus like that.
Yeah, well, you know, we probably do need a facilitator, and so let me say yes.
Okay, that's good. Short and sweet answer. We had another question come in. Is there also a new resort coming to Cocoa on 520? There's been a billboard that has been seen, but couldn't find information online.
Oh, new resort on 520. There is, I don't know where they're talking. Speaking of on 520, we do have a multifamily project that's coming on 520 next to the school board bus terminal. So that may be the one that they're referring to. But again, that's multifamily.
Okay. Question from earlier in the chat, question for Cocoa. Pleased to see some maintenance and construction being scheduled in the near future on Merritt Island. Unless I'm mistaken, the barge canal, sorry, I'm trying to scroll down, currently is under construction. Why is there a water main line being scheduled for March 15th through 30th on Courtney Parkway? And then also a 528 closure for the train stopping east and west traffic. They're concerned about traffic diversion at the same time.
I'll talk about the train is really city portion there. I'd like to talk about the county, but that wouldn't be fair to them. So, so the train will actually, at 528 as it comes south, it'll actually come under 528, and so they are making those improvements right now. You're going to see some lane closures there, but it's really a very neat and innovative a process. They're sort of tunneling under by a new sort of method there, and so I think what that person is referring to is the train tunnel that'll be under 528. That'll be next couple of months. I mean, so we're just going to have to be patient with that, but that is for the high-speed train that's going to be going to go 528 and turn south at that point.
Thanks for touching on that. Any final questions whatsoever for any of our city managers? Dr. Fettrow had to jump off, but we have everyone else. If anyone has any final questions before we leave the meeting, please unmute and go ahead.
Is it true that a Cracker Barrel might be coming to Cocoa soon?
Very important question.
I don't like Cracker Barrel. No, I'm not. I've not heard of a Cracker Barrel coming to Cocoa. But if you know Mr. or Mrs. Cracker Barrel and they want to talk about it, we're certainly happy to sit down and talk with them about it.
Mr. and Mrs. Cracker Barrel. Lorraine is saying absolutely no way. They have a pretty good hash brown casserole, if I remember from childhood. Good store. All right. Any other questions?
Kelly Goldie here from Community Bank of the South. It's more of a comment. I know somebody already talked about the parking and the issue in Cocoa Village, but I just wanted to mention what I feel was real vision on the part of the city of Cocoa Beach in installing that parking garage there, and they're already seeing the benefits of that. I mean, I know from being a resident there and walking down and seeing that thing is full on the weekends, and they've got peak traffic, and they're able to accommodate the visitors to Cocoa Beach because of that parking garage. Without it, it would be a nightmare there, and all those businesses would be suffering the way that the businesses in Cocoa Village are. And the landlords in Cocoa Village too, they can't increase rents because businesses can't afford to pay rents because businesses can't get enough customers in their businesses. So this is really an economic development issue, and I just wanted to put it in that context. I know the city has its limits and things that it can and can't do, but just a quick comment in favor of that as a long-term plan.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? We are out of time.
Jen, just a quick comment. I applaud the city managers for their looking at the resiliency of their infrastructure. And if I can put in a cheap plug, $6 billion is what FPL has invested. And that's why you see stronger poles, more storm resilient throughout your communities. Thank you.
Thanks, Bart. We're a chamber of commerce, so we kind of thrive off of plugs.
Hey, Jen?
Yes.
Jen, can you get Bart to repair my street lights?
Here we go. Here we go. Let's jump on a separate Zoom.
Hey, Jen.
I know that was coming.
Yes, Jen. Courtney, go ahead.
I just wanted to give FPL a good shout out though, because on our Jackson Avenue project, they were getting ready to do a very large, resilient hardening project, and we caught it in time because they were, they're very good at communication and sending in their plans and making sure that we're okay with them. And they postponed it because we wanted them to move those poles for us. And now they're, kind of waiting around for us. So we really appreciate their, work on partnering with us and making sure that we get all of it done at once and not have to redo things later. So I just wanted to give them a kudos.
Thank you. It's been a great partnership.
Hey, Jen, one more thing. Since I see Clinton is still on, I want to do a shout out for Career Source Brevard. Since Hurricane Matthew, we have used individuals from Career Source on a number of projects that are eligible, and they have been fantastic to work for. They have saved us tons of dollars that we would have spent, and we're very thankful for them. And I just want to pass that on to Clinton.
Thanks, Jim. I will make sure I relay your message over to Marcy and the team.
And I'd echo that also.
Well, Clinton's out there working on the weekends with me. He does a great job for Career Source. So thank you, everybody. Thank you to all of our city managers. I do want to echo what Stockton said. I know it's a struggle sometimes as a marketing person with branding. We are the Cocoa Beach Regional Chamber of Commerce. We have a large territory there that we cover, but it's always quicker to say Cocoa Chamber. And I know he struggles with that, Cocoa and Cocoa Beach. So it's a lot of branding fun. Anyways, thank you so much to everybody for joining us. You have busy schedules, busy day jobs. So thank you very much for coming. A lot of compliments in the chat for all of our city managers, and I will echo them. Thank you for what you do for our community. Sometimes it can be a thankless job. And so we really appreciate everything that you do on behalf of our municipalities in Brevard County. And with that, I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of your Friday. The final thing I will say is for my next trick, we will be jumping over to the Brevard Veterans Memorial Center for a very important ribbon cutting as we culminate the finishing of phase 2 of that project. So if you are able to join us today, grab your favorite face mask and come on out for an 11 o'clock ribbon cutting. We're going to be starting the festivities about 10:30 and the ribbon cutting about 11:15. So we hope to see you in Merritt Island. And with that, have a great weekend. Thanks, everybody. Cheryl, you can stop recording.
Have a good weekend.